It was just past 7 p.m. in Sialo, Lagado County. Crickets hummed softly beyond the thin iron sheets of the house, and smoke from the evening's fire still curled lazily in the rafters. Inside, laughter filled the room like music. The Onyalo family sat cross-legged around a low wooden table, devouring a humble but joyous dinner of ugali and fried fish. The father, Si Onyalo, was at his most animated, his broad face stretched in a proud smile that hadn't left since sunset. "You've made us proud, Alfred," he said, gesturing with his wooden spoon. "Firstborns lead the way, and now, look at you. University of Nairobi. Soon, you'll be Dr. Onyalo, our own doctor right here in the village. Eh?" Laughter followed, light and genuine. Alfred smiled shyly, his head bowed, spoons scraping against his plate. The flickering glow of the kerosene lamp danced in his eyes. He had always been quiet, the observer, but tonight, even he couldn't hide his pride. Mama Onyalo leaned forward, setting down her bowl. Her voice cracked slightly, not with age, but with memory. "Do you know how many households I have washed clothes just to buy your books?" she was saying. "Eh? Do you remember when I used to carry water from the chief's compound at dawn so we could afford your exam fees?" Her voice trembled with emotion, but her eyes were blazing. "You haven't failed us, my son. Not once." Alfred's older sister, Naliaka, wiped her hands with a rag and looked across the table. She was dressed in her usual navy sweater and black slacks. She'd come all the way from Nairobi to visit her family. "I don't care how tight my house is, you'll stay with me until you finish your studies," she said firmly. "You won't worry about rent, fare, or food. Let me worry about that. You just study." Alfred met her eyes with silent gratitude. The small child on Mama Onyalo's lap, the youngest, barely 4, suddenly began to whimper. Mama shifted her gently and rocked her in her arms. "Shh! Sleep, baby girl. Sleep now," she whispered in rhythm, her palm rubbing the child's back. "Your brother is going to make the world better." A warm silence fell over the room, the kind that lives only in homes built by sacrifice. Then came the knock. Once, twice, a third time, harder now. The entire family froze. The cheerful stillness cracked like glass under a boot. Mzee Onyalo stood up slowly, his joints stiff from years of farm work. His eyes narrowed as he moved toward the door, his walking stick tapping softly against the floor. He opened it. 3 men stood outside, black boots, bulletproof vests, rifles slung over shoulders. The one in the middle held up a badge. "Evening," he said. His voice was flat, practiced. "We're here for Alfred Onyalo." There was a moment, not even 2 seconds long, where the night felt like it stopped breathing. Then, Mzee Onyalo's jaw tightened. What has my son done now?" he asked, voice trembling, one hand tightening on the edge of the door. Inside, the rest of the family rose slowly to their feet. Plates were forgotten. Naliaka instinctively reached for her mother. The little girl in Mama's arms stirred and started to cry again. "It's a minor issue," the second officer said, a little more relaxed. "Just needs to write a quick statement at the station." "Station where?" Naliaka demanded. The officer hesitated. "Just a beat, too long." "Nairobi. City Police Headquarters." "But we have a station here," Mama Onyalo said sharply. "Sialo Police is right there near the church." The third officer stepped forward. He was younger than the rest, but his voice carried the most weight. "We're from the Intelligence Service Agency, Nairobi branch, he said. Your son's issue involves national security, cybercrime. We have orders from above. Mama Onyalo pulled the child tighter, her voice breaking. No, he's not going anywhere. My son has done nothing wrong. She stepped forward, her body trembling, blocking the way. I tell you, you're not taking him. One of the officers, taller, face set like granite, exhaled sharply. Ma'am, we didn't want to explain this here, not in front of everyone. But if we must... He reached into his pocket, pulling out a folded document. Your son, he began, voice clipped and official, is under investigation for publishing derogatory and defamatory content on social media. The room went still. What content? The father asked, his voice low but full of warning. The officer unfolded the paper and held it up. He operates an anonymous account. 2 days ago, he accused the police boss of laundering public funds through offshore accounts. He shared classified images and named government officials. It's a direct violation of the Cybercrime Act and falls under state security offenses. That's nonsense, Naliaka snapped. Whistleblowing isn't a crime. It is, the officer interrupted coldly, when you accuse a national security official of corruption without proof and incite public disorder. That's sedition. But it's true, Alfred finally said, speaking for the first time. Everyone turned to look at him. I posted it, and I stand by it. The room broke into chaotic voices. Mother wailing, father fuming, sister yelling. The officers didn't flinch. The taller one folded the paper back neatly. That's all we needed to hear, he said. We're taking him in. Mama, calm down, Naliaka said. But she too had stepped between her brother and the door, her fists clenched. Mzee Onyalo was shaking now, his voice low and cracking with pain. Please don't hurt my son, he said. The government has become a monster. I fear for my son's life. I fear for this country's sanity. The younger officer stepped forward. He will be safe, sir. Then, without waiting, he marched past them and reached for Alfred. Cold steel clicked. The cuffs went around Alfred's wrists. He didn't flinch. They led him outside. The truck waited, black, dusty, unmarked. At the edge of the doorway, Alfred paused. Don't worry, Mama, he said, turning slightly. I'll be back. I'll be safe. His voice was calm, unshaken, like he knew something they didn't. Then the engine roared, the door slammed shut, and the truck vanished into the night. Only the child's wailing remained, echoing into a silence no one dared to break. Time, 12 midnight. Location, Intelligence Service. Agency, Nairobi. The police truck rolled through the gates like a ghost through fog, its headlights briefly flaring against the reinforced steel checkpoint. It came to a stop in front of one of the blocks. Tall, gray, windowless buildings that held stories the public would never hear. Alfred Onyalo was led out, wrists still cuffed but not a bruise on him. The 3 officers who had picked him from Sialo flanked him like escorts, not captors. They hadn't once raised their voices. You're not a bad kid, one had muttered during the drive. You just touched the wrong wire. We have the government, but we have devils in government. Alfred understood what he meant. Inside the ISA complex, everything smelled of stale paper and cold stone. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The air was dry. Bureaucracy hung in every corridor like cobwebs. They booked Alfred quietly, No public commotion, no fingerprints on the front desk. Just silent movements, a clipboard passed from one officer to another, and a faint nod toward cell block 13. He was escorted there and locked in a dim concrete room no bigger than a food store. The ceiling leaked somewhere near the back. The walls were unpainted. A single steel bench jutted from one side. Before they could confiscate his phone, Alfred, with the speed only desperation allows, opened the X app and typed furiously, "Arrested by ISA, dragged from my home in Sialo before my family, now held in Nairobi headquarters. Whatever happens, keep pushing. Don't stop. Our cry is freedom. Our country is bleeding. Be the voice. Stay strong. Freedom, Kenya. Send." Seconds later, they took the phone. He sat alone in the dark. An hour might have passed, maybe 2. There was no clock, and the stillness of the place distorted time. Then footsteps approached, calm, deliberate. The heavy bolt turned, and the cell door creaked open. A man stepped in, broad shoulders, clean-shaven, dressed in plain navy fatigues, no name tag. He carried no weapon, just a steaming mug of black tea. "Alfred Onyalo?" the man asked, though it wasn't really a question. "I'm Chief Inspector Faratu." He didn't wait for a response. He took a seat on the edge of the steel bench opposite Alfred and sipped his tea. "You know," he began, voice level, "I always say vloggers are brave people. But sometimes bravery without caution is suicide." Alfred didn't reply. His eyes stayed fixed on the man, searching for motive. The OCS smiled faintly. "Do you have any idea whose tail you stepped on?" Still, silence. The OCS exhaled heavily, setting the cup down on the dusty floor. "Powerful people, Alfred. Very powerful. Men with private jets and private jails. They are the government. They are the deep state. You write one post about their corrupt dealings, and suddenly your parents don't know where your body is buried. That's the level we're at. You exposed one of them. Or tried to. And they noticed." He leaned in closer. "They are maniacs, son. Highly powerful, highly connected. Unhinged wolves dressed in suits and protocol. They eat our country alive every day, and they don't care a damn thing about you and me." The words settled like smoke in the cell. The OCS straightened again, arms crossed. "I've served this government 23 years. I've seen good officers vanish just for asking questions. You think I don't know it's wrong? I do. But I have kids to feed, life to live. This uniform, it's a straitjacket, Alfred. We obey first, question later." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a crumpled packet of gum, offered one. Alfred shook his head. The OCS chuckled dryly. "You're brave, but you're not stupid. That's good. You understand what this is. You're not here for trial. You're here to disappear quietly. They don't want noise. They don't want outrage. They want silence." Alfred finally spoke. His voice was calm, clear. "I didn't lie. I just showed the truth." The OCS paused. Something like admiration flickered behind his eyes. "I know," he said, "and that's the problem." He rose to his feet, dusted his hands. The tea was now cold. "I have nothing against you, honestly, but my hands are tied. Orders from above." He walked to the door, then stopped with one hand on the latch. "Stay strong, Alfred," he said without turning. "I can't release you. I have no power. But maybe, just hope." And then he was gone. The door locked behind him with a mechanical click. Alfred sat back against the wall, eyes closed. Somewhere, water dripped rhythmically. The floor was cold beneath him. He didn't know it yet. But that one tweet had already begun to shake the very tree that dropped rotten fruit. It was 1:30 a.m. when the sleek black Mercedes pulled into the gated ISA compound without a single word of explanation. It didn't have plates. The headlights never blinked. A plainclothes officer walked to cell block 13 with the urgency of a man carrying out someone else's orders. The cell door clicked open again. "Get up!" Alfred didn't resist. He was tired, hungry, confused, and his instincts told him whatever came next would be worse than this holding cell. Outside, the cool Nairobi night slapped his skin. They shoved him into the back seat. As he sat, a black cloth bag was yanked down over his head, suffocating and hot. He couldn't see, but he could still breathe. Barely. The engine purred to life. The car sped off, smooth as a whisper. Inside, no one spoke. But Alfred could sense others, at least 2 men, sitting on either side of him. He could hear their breath, feel their tension. Someone smelled like cigarettes. Someone else clicked a pen nervously. The drive lasted 20 minutes, maybe less. The road eventually turned rough, gravel crunching under tires, trees swaying heavily outside the tinted windows. Then the car stopped. The doors swung open. Strong arms yanked him out, and the bag was finally removed. His eyes squinted against the sudden beam of floodlights. They were in the middle of a dense forest. A compound stood before them. 2 floors high, windows barred, roof rusted black. It looked like an abandoned government facility. Yes, this was off the grid. This was where patriots, heroes of the nation, vanished. Alfred was dragged inside, stumbling. Blood rushed to his ears. His feet couldn't keep up. In a narrow room with concrete walls and a single hanging bulb, they shoved him to his knees. A man sat directly across from him, legs crossed. Dark suit, red tie, polished black shoes that hadn't touched a drop of mud. His skin was pale, his eyes dead, a shadow that smoked power. "Alfred Onyalo," the man said, his voice smooth like a scalpel. "You've been a very busy little bastard, haven't you?" 2 other men stood behind Alfred. One cracked his knuckles. The other adjusted a laptop on a rusted metal table. "Let's start simple," the boss continued. "Who's your rat? Who's your informer inside my government?" Alfred tried to speak, but a punch landed in his ribs, fast and brutal. He doubled over. "Answer the damn question!" one thug barked. Another punch. His jaw snapped sideways. The boss leaned forward, amused. "You thought exposing me would get you what? Followers? Clout? You think that X account of yours would start a revolution?" Alfred coughed blood. I don't know names." Wrong answer. A boot hit his back, sending him to the floor. Another punch. Then a slap, hard enough to blur his vision. "You've got balls, kid," the boss sneered. "I can give you that, but let's see how long they last." "Where did you get the intel?" the other thug asked, shaking him by the collar. "The land files? The offshore account screenshots? Speak up, or I'll knock your fucking teeth out." Alfred spat blood on the floor. "They're public documents." The boss laughed. "Public? You hacked a confidential audit system. You dragged my name into it. You cost me a 1 billion shilling deal in Dubai, and for what? Justice?" Another blow, this time across the temple. Alfred collapsed, wheezing. "Give us the handle," one of them snapped. "Your X login, now!" Alfred tried to resist. He bit down on his tongue, but after 20 minutes of pure, unrelenting violence, ribs cracked, eardrums ringing. He caved. "At truth, traveler," he whispered in pain. The man at the laptop began typing rapidly. "Logging in. We're in." "Delete everything," the boss said coldly. "Clean sweep." "Done. Account gone. Files gone. Blog links erased. Archives wiped." "Good," the boss said. "You see, Alfred? This is how power works. You bleed. We clean." Alfred barely had strength to raise his head. His face was unrecognizable. Swollen. Bleeding. "You think you're the first? I've killed better men than you. Journalists, lawyers, priests. And guess what? Nothing ever happens to me." He leaned closer, eyes inches from Alfred's. "I'm protected. The Hill House owes me favors. I'm their monster, and they let me roam." Another punch, then a kick. The beatings lasted 2 hours. Through all of it, Alfred begged. He pleaded with every breath left in him. "I have a mother. I have a sister. They depend on me," he whimpered. "Please, I'm not a threat." They didn't listen. Until something changed. In the second hour, Alfred stopped crying. Though bound at the wrists, bleeding from his scalp and barely able to lift his head, his voice came firm, unshaken. "You can kill me," he said, eyes sharp through the pain. "But you can't kill revolution. I die today. Others rise tomorrow. You can't kill all of us." They paused. The room stilled. Alfred spat blood. "Kill me! Kill me quick, assholes! But my blood, Kenya's blood, will haunt you forever." Then he collapsed. His breathing slowed. Blood pooled beneath him. Silence. One of the thugs looked up. "Shit, I think we killed him." The boss stood, brushing his suit. "Check his pulse." Another man knelt, pressed 2 fingers to Alfred's neck. No signs of life, nothing. The third man grunted. "He's gone." "Good," the boss said. "He deserved it. Stupid TikToker." "Dump him in the ISA compound, behind the archives. Let them find him there." "Copy that." "And tell that damn OCS to file a report. Suicide. Claimed he couldn't handle interrogation. Standard line." "Yes, sir." The boss lit a cigarette and smirked. "Bingo! That's why you two are my right-hand demons." "But, sir," one of the men hesitated, "his body's a mess. Bruises. Cuts. People might ask questions." The boss exhaled smoke. "We'll have Grace clean him up. I'm calling her right now. She's done it before. That beautician from Kileleshwa. Skin therapist, whatever. She'll fix the corpse." And with that, they stuffed Alfred's motionless body into the trunk. The car started. The forest swallowed the building again. Day, Saturday. Time, 2:08 p.m. Place, Sialo Market. The hotel was buzzing with voices, laughter, the clang of spoons hitting plates. Smoke from fried fish and boiling tea filled the air. Local music played from an old radio behind the counter, mixing with the hum of the midday crowd. Naliaka sat alone in the corner, a plate of chapati and beans half eaten in front of her. She wasn't hungry anymore, but it had become her habit. Saturday lunch at Mama Kevo's deli, just behind the butchery. She was scrolling aimlessly through her phone when the TV above the counter suddenly interrupted the regular program. Breaking news! The red banner blinked across the screen. She looked up, slowly. A stern-faced news anchor sat against a digital backdrop of the ISA headquarters. A 22-year-old university student and blogger, Alfred Onyalo, was found dead early this morning at the ISA headquarters in Nairobi. Authorities have ruled the death a suicide. The official police statement claims the suspect took his own life while under questioning. Naliaka froze. Her spoon fell to the floor with a dull, metallic clink. The sound around her dimmed, but the noise in the hotel only got louder. No, that's a lie! He didn't kill himself! Someone shouted across the room. What suicide? That boy was stronger than that, another man barked. Government propaganda again! Someone near the counter yelled, throwing his hands up. A woman broke into tears. I knew him. I knew Alfred. He bought tomatoes from me every Sunday. That child had fire in him. The room erupted. Plates forgotten. Chairs pulled back. The once lively hotel turned into a storm of rage and disbelief. Naliaka stood up slowly, her eyes locked on the screen as if it held her in place. Her hands shook. She didn't blink. His family has not yet released an official statement, the news anchor continued. The matter has sparked outrage online, with many activists and citizens questioning the official version of events. She couldn't hear the rest. The screen blurred. Her breath caught in her chest. Someone came up and wrapped an arm around her. I'm so sorry, Naliaka. We just heard. Your brother, it's terrible. The voice whispered. She didn't recognize it, couldn't respond. Another pair of arms hugged her from behind. This country doesn't deserve good people. But she barely noticed. Her mind had locked itself behind glass. Dead? Alfred? No. It couldn't be. He had just started his classes. He couldn't be dead. Not my brother. Not the boy who hugged their mother like she was made of porcelain. Not the boy who brought home printed flyers about stolen public money. Not the boy who once stood in front of riot police during a university protest and tweeted, "Fear is a luxury we can't afford." No, it can't be. She stumbled backward and hit the wall near the doorway. Her breath came in gasps. Somewhere behind her, people were shouting, "This regime is rotten! Rotten to the core! Why kill the poor? Why kill the children of this country? What crime did he commit?" Freedom of speech is no longer free. But Naliaka wasn't hearing them anymore. She was lost inside a scream she couldn't release. And then the whisper inside her head came back. So they still haven't learned. Her own voice, but distant, cold. So they think they can do this forever? Kill in silence? She blinked hard. A single tear rolled down her cheek, then another. Her jaw clenched. They won't learn until someone teaches them. Her breath steadied. She turned and looked at the TV one last time. Her brother's photo was up now. One from a past rally, fist in the air, smiling, alive. A flame started in her belly. She wiped her face, pushed away the hands still trying to comfort her. Then she turned and walked out into the street, slow, heavy steps, angry, trembling. Her vision blurred, but focused at the same time. She didn't know what she would tell her parents. She didn't know how to explain that Alfred, their pride, had been murdered by the very government they elected. She didn't know what words could carry the weight of a shattered dream. But one thing had become suddenly, violently clear. They had killed her brother. And something inside her had died with him. Or maybe something had been born. Period. 1 year later. City, Nairobi. Time, 12 a.m., midnight. Location, Utumishi House, 9th floor, Government Security Briefing Room. The city outside was asleep under a blanket of smoke and secrets. But inside the heavily guarded Utumishi building, the 9th floor was still awake, glowing in low yellow lights, thick with cigar smoke and government lies. 3 high-ranking police officials and the Minister for National Security sat around a long mahogany table, deep in a classified conversation about suppressing an upcoming protest in the city. Their jackets were hung behind their chairs, their bellies full, their voices fat with confidence. And then the silence was sliced in half. The door burst open. A figure stepped in, slow, steady, and deadly. Dressed in full police tactical gear, face hidden behind a matte black helmet and visor. No words. Just the cold glint of a silenced Glock pistol held with precision. 2 shots, clean and deliberate, hit the first 2 officers in the legs. They screamed, falling from their chairs, blood soaking the floor tiles. The remaining 2 men froze. One reached for his phone. A bullet shattered it before it could ring. On your knees! Now, hands behind your backs, assholes! They obeyed, not because she was loud, but because her presence commanded fear. Zip ties emerged from her belt. In a few seconds, 2 of Kenya's most untouchable security officers were kneeling like scumbags they were, hands bound behind them. Then she removed her helmet. Braids fell to her shoulders. Her face was steady, her eyes cold and calm like still water before a storm. The minister blinked. The police boss was trembling. Who are you? The police boss stammered. Please. What have we done? She stepped closer, the pistol aimed straight at the police boss's heart. So, you don't know me? She asked, her voice low. A pause. Then, I'm the sister of the innocent man you tortured and murdered. Alfred Onyalo, 1 year ago. Their silence was guilt. Suddenly, the minister lunged for the exit, panicked and sloppy. But that was a bad move. She turned and kicked him square in the face, a heavy boot crunching against his mouth. He collapsed like a bag of wet flour. Blood was gushing from his nose. A disgrace of a man. A tired, corrupt goon with money in offshore accounts and zero muscle to back his mouth. The peepee started crying. Please, we didn't know. We didn't know who your brother was. We just... Today you know. She cut him off. No hesitation. Pfft. 1 shot in the chest. Pfft. Another in the neck. A final bullet cracked through his skull. He collapsed backward, twitching, gone. The minister screamed, Wait! Before you kill me, at least tell me how you got all this. Uniforms? Gun? Access? She aimed the pistol at his sweating head. Because the government you serve is built on filth. Corruption is your badge of honor. It's the president's legacy. Anything is for sale. IDs, guns, even police identities. You created this rotten system. I'm just using it against you. He was crying now, and worse, shaking violently. Then it happened. He pissed himself. Without blinking, she fired. A single shot between the eyes. His head snapped back. The great minister of security. Silenced like he had silenced others. 2 bodies lay sprawled on the marble floor, one still twitching, the other leaking blood onto government-issue leather shoes. The remaining 2 officers were still tied up, eyes wide, mouths gagged with duct tape. One was weeping silently. The other just stared at her like she was an angel of death. She turned slowly to them, her face blank, eyes empty, no rage, no joy. Just a long, chilling silence. She leaned close to the trembling one and whispered, "Tell the media these 2 bastards committed suicide. Say they were guilty. Say they couldn't handle interrogation. And you never saw me. If my identity leak, I'm coming for your corrupt heads." Then she stood tall, holstered the pistol, walked to the window, and melted into the dark hallway. By the time the guards responded, there was no trace, no prints, no cameras, no evidence, only silence, and 2 dead men, fallen giants of a failed regime. Outside, the Nairobi night swallowed her figure whole. She disappeared into the shadows. And somewhere in the wind, a voice echoed softly, "You can't kill a revolution."